Senator Mike Lee, who is joining us now, the good senator from Utah. Mike, are you at the RNC convention this week?
I am, very much so. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate that. Glenn's having a little bit of audio trouble and cannot hear anything, so we're going to pick this up from... It's been a heck of a day. It's been a heck of a week, I think, as you may have noticed. Senator, we are at the RNC, and what we're getting right now after just a terrible weekend and a weekend that changed the country for a very long time, we're getting an idea from every source right now to take the temperature down. And of course, this is a good instinct. I know something that I think you agree with. But do you agree with the messaging here from the media, who I think has participated in ratcheting the temperature up quite a bit over the past few years?
Yeah, it's really cute for the media and for people on the left to tell us to take the temperature down when they themselves do quite the opposite of that, and then nitpick at every single stage for what Republicans do, what non-progressives do. Look, the best thing that they could do to take down the temperature would be to end, for example, the political lawfare. I have said from the beginning that President Biden really wanted to do that. He could call for the criminal charges against his political opponent to be dismissed. He can do that directly for the federal charges. For the state charges, he could call upon the governors of New York and Georgia to do that. That would send a better signal than anything I can think of. And look, it's almost not going to cost him anything anyway, because the way things are going, with the Florida charges being dismissed, with the likelihood that the other cases are going to run into trouble anyway, it's not panning out the way they had hoped. Doesn't look like there's a credible path for them to be able to lock him up before November anyway. He would get some credibility, I would think, by doing that. But instead, the left continues by saying, yeah, Republicans have got to change their messaging, and they nitpick at anything any Republican says, highlighting differences between the parties as a reason why we're doing it wrong.
So, Mike, there's Keith Olbermann just came out yesterday and said the judge in the Florida case needs to be arrested by Merrick Garland, even if you have to make up charges. There's nothing like made up charges to save a democracy. But what is this? They're definitely going to at least take this to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Do you know anything about the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals and how this might play?
Well, look, the judge was right to dismiss those charges. Justice Thomas had pointed out some very legitimate reasons why Jack Smith's appointment failed to pass constitutional muster. I think he's right. I think the district judge was right to do this. It's very difficult to predict how the 11th Circuit might respond to this, but I think if the 11th Circuit handles this correctly under the law, they're going to affirm that decision. And in any event, the idea that Keith Olbermann would say that, I have not heard that until now. It's disgusting. It doesn't get much more third world dictatorish than that. It doesn't get much more state-owned media than that. For a media figure to come out and suggest that a judge making a ruling should be arrested, even if it's necessary, based on trumped-up, contrived, non-existent legal charges.
Eden Pure is back with their famous Thunderstorm air purifier. It's their top seller air purifier that quickly destroys viruses, odors, mold, and so much more. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you know it works. Any smell will vanish after just a few seconds of the Thunderstorm being plugged in. Odors, litter boxes, trash cans, cigarette smokes, dirty diapers. Wow, I don't want to visit that house. The powerful Thunderstorm sends out O3 molecules that seek out and destroy odors. I have these in my house. They're great. The molecules go behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the Thunderstorm. Best of all, no filters to buy over and over again, saving you money. Start enjoying your home again and get several thunderstorms. Right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for the whole home protection. You get 3 units for under $200. Put one in your basement, bedroom, family room, kitchen, wherever you need the air to be clean. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Use the promo code Beck and save.
So, Mike, yesterday, when I was watching the convention before Trump got in there, it had a sense of joy to it that I have not. I mean, it was the happy warrior. It was Reagan, 1984, and it at least connected with me. I don't know what it felt like on the floor. And then when Donald Trump walked out, he seemed different. Is it just me? What did it feel like in the room?
He seems much more somber. He seems shaken but reinvigorated by the support that he's getting, and I think that shows in him. And I think it's impossible for him to have gone through that experience, nearly getting killed. It'd almost be impossible to not feel that, to feel something had changed. And perhaps even on kind of a spiritual level, to have felt like he had a mission and a purpose for which he had been preserved. And that's my sense of things.
It feel like to you that we've turned a page and we're in a different chapter now of this American story?
Absolutely. Now, particularly as it relates to this election cycle. My sense is that on the left, there's still some weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth going on as to this election, but I think they've almost written it off now. They're almost to the point now where they're realizing this is a lost cause. Because whether they stick with President Biden or try to cast him off for someone else, there are so many political problems with that. There's not really a good outcome. But regardless, now that President Trump has been attacked like this and shot, there's so much sympathy that naturally goes out to him. I don't like to use the word unbeatable because we don't tempt fate, but it starts to feel a little bit like that.
Are you hearing that from your colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
No, they don't say it. They don't say it out loud, but there's very much a sense of, I don't know, it's not quite resignation, but there's less fight in them. They don't really have a clear path anymore. All along, they've been relying on all sorts of things, on their ability to demonize Donald Trump through the media, demonize him further through the lawfare against him. They were very much looking forward to the perp walk moment where they could cuff him, arrest him, take him into custody, and they thought that was going to be their big shining moment. And now with the immunity ruling, with yesterday's ruling from the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida, and the more recent developments with Trump being shot, none of those things are panning out for them well. And it almost seems as if they've all backfired on them because, again, the public sympathy is turning toward Trump.
So it looks like when Lester Holt asked who was in charge of Secret Service, that the president didn't even really know who was in charge of the Secret Service.
He misgendered her. He misgendered her. He said, I talked to him. Well, the head of the Secret Service is a woman. So that really raises all kinds of questions as to whether he knows or is in touch with who's running the Secret Service or not. And I think we know the answer to that now.
So the idea that this could happen, and honestly, no one would even have the honor to step down. It's another case where something horrible has happened and no accountability. Is there going to be accountability on this?
Look, there will be accountability. It's unfortunate that the accountability doesn't seem to be coming because, as you pointed out, this thing happened on Saturday, and we absolutely should have seen some accountability by now, even though it's only Tuesday. But with each passing hour that nothing happens, it seems less likely during this administration. But I can assure you, with the way things are going, we're going to have most likely Republican control of the Senate and the House and the White House next year. So I can absolutely assure you that by then we will have robust, aggressive investigations and we'll be able to figure out what happened here. But in the meantime, just basic conversations that I've been having, that I'm sure you've been having, Glenn, with people who know what they're doing in this area, with current and former Secret Service agents that I know, and people who have sharpshooter experience from the military or otherwise. I've had conversation after conversation with experts in this area who point out things like, look, it is the most elementary point of securing an area that you don't allow an elevated perch only 148 yards away from the place where you're supposed to be protecting someone. You don't allow that to go unattended, to go unmonitored. You also don't ignore multiple observations by multiple attendees saying, hey, there's a guy with a rifle on that roof. Somebody ought to check it out. The minute they were made aware of that, the president should have been kept off the stage, or if he was already on the stage, removed immediately until they neutralized the threat. It's also difficult to understand why it is that there were so many requests made, apparently, from President Trump's campaign for increased security when they didn't provide it. They just didn't offer that. And that's unfortunate, too. It's kind of a perfect storm in some ways. Some of it was an unfortunate set of circumstances because it had, my understanding is Jill Biden, Vice President Harris, former President Trump were all in Pennsylvania on the same day, and the Secret Service is stretched thin. But that, too, is something we've got to look at. Look, Glenn, if they're stretched that thin, maybe we need to restructure the Secret Service. Maybe, just maybe, we should look at the fact that the Secret Service ought to be devoted entirely to dignitary protection. My understanding is that at any given moment, most of their human resources are devoted to the investigation of financial crimes, things like counterfeiting and stuff like that. That's historically been part of their mission. Look, the mission of the Secret Service is kind of a dog's breakfast. It reminds me a little bit of the union that Homer Simpson belongs to in The Simpsons. It's like the union of nuclear power plant workers, ballet dancers, and pastry chefs. This odd combination of things that have nothing to do with each other. Maybe Secret Service needs once and for all to be just about dignitary protection to make sure that they do it exceptionally well.
As somebody who has spent a lot of time with Secret Service, and I admire some of the Secret Service agents, even those that are just Treasury agents, when they come to town, when a Donald Trump or a dignitary comes to town, these guys are called off their desk and they're put in the line of duty, and they're not trained for that. I mean, maybe they're trained, but they're not. They're not prepared for it. They're desk people. And it's a totally different mindset from a desk person to somebody who has to put their body in the way and absorb a bullet. Mike, the thing that you hope you will see or we will see this week from the RNC.
Okay. One of the things that I want to hear that I haven't heard yet, but I hope and expect that it's coming. We hear a lot of talks that sound a little bit like a diagnosis of the problem without a prescription for the cure. I want to hear as much detail as possible about what it is that we're going to do to get at the ailment. And by the ailment, I mean, first and foremost, the ailment within and the ailment surrounding, the ailment infecting our government, our federal government. I want to hear some fairly specific plans about what we're going to do to de-weaponize the platform that is the United States government. I want to hear plans about tax reform, about regulatory reform, plans that talk about how it is that we're going to shift power back to the American people where it belongs.
Was it significant to you that what's his face, Turtlehead, Stu, that he was booed? McConnell was booed yesterday.
Things like that happen from time to time, and you hate to see that. Any person going through that, I think there are some people who don't like him, and they made their minds known yesterday, loud and clear. I don't know whether that's exactly the most productive way of going about it, but it is what it is. I was a little surprised to see it.
Yeah, well, there you are. I'm a better Christian than you, says Mike Lee. Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate it. God bless you. All right. Good to talk to you, my friend.